Most black rhinos avoid humans. They do not make friends with hyenas. And few want to get to know a young warthog. But Tatenda is not your typical black rhino. Native Zimbabweans John and Judy Travers are Tatenda's adoptive parents. For the last 10 months, their lives have been turned upside down by this highly unusual house guest and his unconventional friends.
Sotsi! Sots! These animals love to play.
But how much longer can the home chaos continue? Having rescued Tatenda, the Travers now face an even greater challenge, convincing him he's not a pet. But will Judy be able to persuade this unlikely lodger to give up his creature comforts? Sunday morning at the Travers is anything but run-of-the-mill. A typical weekend means waking up to a hyena under the bed, a warthog between the sheets, and a rhino roaming the house.
At sort of 5:30 in the morning, Pog just decides, yeah, let's come and join Mum and Dad in bed for half an hour. And it's just the most beautiful, beautiful thing. She's in heaven. She's in absolute heaven.
But the lounging around generally comes to an end when Tatenda wants to join in the pyjama party.
Morning, Tindy.
Hello, my boy.
Yes, yes.
You just want to suck a thumb and have a bottle, don't you, my darling?
For Pogs, there's only ever one good reason to get out of bed: Sunday breakfast. And with Tatenda at the table, it's never a dull affair.
Having all these animals with us for breakfast, to us, is normal. We've always had 5 kids and their mates, so our breakfast tables have always been filled to the brim. And now the kids have quietly been replaced by all these creatures great and small. When do you think you're going to go back to Kenya? What's the matter?
It's a ritual. Sunday breakfast at the breakfast table at our house from day one. This is what we introduced into Tendy's life, and he never forgets it. He knows Sundays. It's funny how he knows Sunday's Sunday, because it's the only time we allow him to come to the breakfast table is on Sunday. Tendy loves toast. Toast
Honey.
and honey. Give him a piece of toast. Yeah, there we are.
That's it.
No bueno. Tatenda, just behave yourself.
That's why we said this.
When push comes to shove, Tatenda is like any other hungry toddler. The only difference is, most toddlers don't weigh almost half a ton. How much longer before the playful pushes become a serious risk? For Judy and John, having Tatenda in their home is a totally new experience. But when it comes to raising rhinos in the wild, they are experts. Imire Safari Ranch is their 11,000-acre game park in eastern Zimbabwe. Judy and John have made it their life's work to give rescued wild animals a home here.
I don't particularly want to be horned by a 2-ton rhino.
Yeah, John, mind your food. It's your food.
Yeah. Go more. Don't you dare come for me.
No.
I'm just making sure you're
I
not
will
charged.
make my own run.
At the heart of Imire is their Black Rhino Conservation Project. For over 20 years, the Travers have been breeding these critically endangered mammals and returning them to national parks. But Zimbabwe is a deeply troubled country. Illegal poaching means John and Judy face a daily battle to keep their animals alive. During the day, their rhino roam under the watchful eye of game wardens, and in the evenings, they're led back to secure pens to spend the night. It's a formula that's worked. Imire has become one of the most successful breeding programs of its kind in Africa. And with little more than 4,000 black rhino left in the wild, every individual counts. It was in September 2007 that Tatenda became the 14th rhino to be born at the project.
We got a call, I think it was early in the morning at 3 o'clock, that Tatenda had been born. Mum let us come right up to it, because Mum knows Judes and I well. And there was this tiny, tiny little baby. It was just awesome.
Tatenda didn't have the easiest of introductions to his mother, DJ.
In the wild, what actually happens with the calf that's just been born, the rhino will lift the calf up with his horn and get him standing. And that's what Mum does.
But DJ had had her horn removed to protect her from poaching.
We dehorned Mum only 6 weeks before. So there was just a short little stump. So Tatenda was actually sort of bumped into action, as it were.
In the end, Tatenda proved his strength and finally found his own feet. With one healthy newborn and a second female pregnant, the breeding project was going from strength to strength. But the joy of Tatenda's arrival was short-lived. In one unimaginable moment, the entire breeding project would be brought to its knees. The birth of Tatenda was testimony to the incredible success of the Travers Black Rhino breeding project. For Judy, the arrival of their 14th black rhino was a proud moment. But just 6 weeks after celebrating Tatenda's birth, Imire received a devastating blow.
I'll never forget that phone call. All dead. Are they all dead? Yes, they're all dead.
Just days before the next infant was due to be born, poachers broke into the reserve at night and shot dead 3 adults in their pens.
You know that could always happen, but it was never going to happen to you.
Tragically, the rhino had all been dehorned weeks earlier to prevent such an attack. They were killed for what little horn had grown back.
It was devastating. Just a brutal, brutal criminal act. When we drove in here, instantly, it was, is Tatenda alive?
Tatenda's mum, DJ, was found in the first pen.
This is where Deej was, just lying here, in this place. There's blood all in here. And just this dead animal. And in here was Tatenda. He was in the corner, lying in the corner over there, covered in blood.
Just when it seemed all was lost, one small soul had survived. But Tatenda was severely traumatized.
It was absolutely heartbreaking. And you felt his pain so deeply. You couldn't take it away. Just felt all your motherly instincts and protection and just to keep this little creature alive. It was just so much energy. Everything else was forgotten. Everything, you know, sort of farm-wise, forget to pick up kids at school. You know, it was just full focus on Tatenda. From that moment on, we actually never left Tatenda's side.
But Judy wouldn't be Tatenda's only companion. In the same week, another orphan needed her care. A tiny warthog they named Pogs.
I had Pog with me, and this little animal was sort of climbing over Tatenda's head, And I think instantly there was a connection because Tendi wasn't on his own.
Once they were strong enough to be moved, the Travers took Tatenda and Pogs into their home. And that's when the fun really started. For little Pogs, there was just one tiny problem, the small matter of a big size difference. But despite the unlikely pairing of a rhino and a warthog, in the end, Tatenda and Pogs got past their sizable differences and soon became inseparable. Ten months later, Tatenda and Pogs are still the closest of companions, but they've had to make room for another member of the gang. Tsutsi, the hyena, was rescued by Judy when he was abandoned shortly after birth. In the wild, a warthog, rhino and hyena would hardly get along, but under the Travers' roof, this bizarre bunch of misfits have formed their own unconventional herd. At just 6 months old, Tsutsi is particularly fond of play fighting. Pogs is clearly his preferred target. But given her size and feisty nature, this little lady is well able to save her own bacon. Though it all looks like a lot of fun, raising a rhino is a serious undertaking. Far from being a one-woman job, it's a full-scale household operation. Everyone has to pitch in. Housekeeper Monica helps out with milk preparation. But to begin with, having Tatenda around the house took some getting used to.
The first time I was so scared of Tendi because it was very, very difficult for me to have a rhino in the house.
A half-ton hungry toddler keeps everyone on their toes.
Sometimes it's crazy, always chase us right round the house.
But the kitchen chaos is only half the battle in feeding Tatenda. In Zimbabwe, it's a major struggle to get the resources they need to keep him alive. Every day, he guzzles over 5 gallons of powdered milk. Powdered milk that has to be brought in from South Africa. While Tatenda can polish off a gallon in less than 30 seconds, Pogs prefers to savor the flavor. Following a good feed, Tatenda likes nothing more than a nap under the mulberry tree. Even then, someone always needs to keep watch over him. Onward does the honours as Tatenda's full-time handler. And it's just as well he's around. Turn your back on this bunch for 1 second and Tsutsi will be tearing the house apart. Tatenda will be rearranging the flowers, but at least Pogs might be pulling her weight. There's little need for a broom when she's helping with the housework. At the end of a relaxing Sunday around the house, it's time to put everyone to bed. Tatenda and Pogs share their own private suite in the garden.